Standing here in the conference house park, I'm eating this delicious stew made right from the hearth. I feel like I'm back in Colonial days, Chris. It's so delicious. Amazing how these ladies made all these delicious meals, and healthy and pure and natural. That's the way it was done back then. Come visit Conference House Park. Excellent. Beautiful day at our event here. We have many more events to come. Stay tuned. Conference House Park.
Life in the colonial towns was very difficult, especially cooking. They'd have to gather all the different types of food that they needed and do a lot of cooking. So let's check out how they would cook during the colonial era. So can you tell us a little bit about how they cooked during colonial times?
Okay, well, everything was cooked with the use of a fire. Some things were smoked, some things were salted or brined in order to preserve them. At the end of harvest time, berries were picked, and sugar is also a preservative. So they would cook down berries and things like that, add sugar to them, and then they would have jams and jellies for the winter. All of their implements for working around the fireplace, most of them are wrought iron with long handles like this. This particular pan is called a spider pan because see how it has the legs? And typically, the way you would cook with this would be to put it over some hot coals in your fire, and you could use it as a frying pan or a little stew pan. There were many different ways to use it. The Billop family that lived in the conference house was a very wealthy family. They had slaves, servants, and bond servants who worked for them. So there were many, many people on site that needed to be fed every day. And some of these other things that I'm using, this is called a peel, which is an excellent thing for moving your coals around and adjusting your fire. Inside of the conference house, there's actually a beehive oven. Brick retains whatever temperature you give it. So the inside of the oven, which is dome-shaped, is all brick-lined, and you would light a fire in it, keep the fire going for several hours, then shovel out the remains of the fire, and put in your breads or whatever you were baking that day, and the bricks would just emanate the heat for hours.
So what type of a stew are you making down?
Okay, a very typical stew in colonial times was New Brunswick stew, which, believe it or not, could be made with fresh squirrel if nothing else was available. What we're making here today is a simple chicken and vegetable chowder with carrots, celeries, corn, chicken, tomatoes, seasonal things that they would have had this time of year.
You know what? Just standing here in the conference house park eating this delicious stew, I feel like I'm back in colonial times.
It's the outside dome, and we're entering the kitchen. And this is the main fireplace, the open hearth of the conference house. You're in the Colonial kitchen now, which is located in the basement portion of the house. This room would have been used as a workroom for the many servants that worked here. And you can see many pots and pans, as I mentioned outside, things with large handles, several butter churns, which work simply by putting cream in the churn and agitating it until it begins to solidify.
Right.
Then you could salt it, form it, and make your butter that way. Over here,
Those colonial women must have had nice muscles, right?
yes, really. Over here you have the everyday ware that the servants would have used. A lot of redware pottery. Redware, of course, is made with red clay. There's a lot of red clay on Staten Island.
Yes.
So this was a local material that was easy for them to get and to use, and a lot of redware pottery was made here.
Very nice.
Up here, we have some pewterware. These are actually measuring cups of all different sizes. So this is all typical for what the servants would have used. As far as the structure in the room goes, these are the original
Beams,
oak
yeah.
beams, which were
Amazing.
hand hewn. And if you look at the size of them, most of them are the better part of a tree. And it would have taken many men to carry these in and put them in place.
It's maintained beautifully and very
Oh,
impressive. The
thank
conference
you.
house is really one of the most outstanding places on Staten Island. Rich in history and beauty. And
Yes.
really just the aesthetics of it is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, if you look at the walls, some of the walls, the stones used in the walls came here as way of ship's ballast. When Europe had been stripped of the trees, ships would come from Europe with rocks in the hull to keep the boat, down in the water. And when they got here, they would empty them and leave with lumber. The colonists were quite ingenious because we have electrical lighting in here now, but of course they never knew of such a thing.
Candlelight, right?
So when they built these windowsills, they sloped them to allow that much more natural light to come in. If they had come straight across, it would significantly have cut their
Reduce it,
light.
right? It would reduce.
And light was an important thing.
Of course.
Okay?
Now, this is the kitchen area where everyone would eat.
No, only the servants would eat down here. The Billop family, who again were a very prominent,
Prominent,
wealthy
yeah.
family, would have been served in the dining room upstairs by the servants.